You know, some of the greatest lessons I've ever learned in my life, the greatest lessons has ever taught me, He's used my animals, especially my dogs. But you know, yesterday I was watching some deer. They come up to my house because I put corn out. They know where to go get the food, and they know where they're safe. It's like I got a mama raccoon that I've actually been feeding since she was a baby. Well, now she has babies, and she brings her babies to my property because she's safe. She knows where to get the food. But you know, here on my property, they don't have to worry about being hunted. So what do they just naturally do? They come here. You know what these animals don't do? They don't stress all day, every day about meaningless stuff like we people do. Now they know where they're safe, so that's where they go. And on my property, not only are they safe, but there's food. For the life of me, see, that's what God offers people. And for the life of me, I don't understand why people don't gravitate and go to God. It blows my mind. And you know what? I was one of them people for most of my life. I had to unlearn that. I was taught, you got to be on the go. You got to be hustling. I've learned to trust God. But you know, it goes back to and I talk about the Pharisees a lot. But in our culture, we have been taught to trust people who are educated. Don't matter if they're experienced or not, educated. You got that piece of paper, you can be trusted. You know, I remember when I first went in business for myself. The first time I was on my own with no partner, I had a really big problem come up. And I learned real quick, I could not rely on anyone. So I had to figure it out. And you know what I did? I figured it out because I had to. I had nobody else to rely on. I had to figure it out. That's the lesson. You know, there's all kind of intelligence, but the practical genius is the best genius. You know what I learned from my life on the streets? See, I quit school in the 8th grade. I really quit in the 6th, and I failed every time since the 8th. But after the 8th, I walked away. But in the streets, and what I went through there, I learned how to read people, read situations. My intuition was strengthened, which, in my opinion, is the greatest of intelligence. I'm not calling myself smarter than anybody. But the intuitive mind, the intuitive individual is the smartest individual. Because there's a practical genius, which is, in my opinion, is the best. And then there's genius. Life is so fundamental. We overcomplicate everything. And I learned that from watching these deer and these animals that come up to my house. They don't worry about senseless stuff like we people do. We have been trapped to believe. We've been trapped in a illusion. We call this system. I call it a Babylonian system. But so many people get trapped in it. I was there. I got trapped in it. I got out of it several years ago. And even then I was trapped in it because I was trying to go back to it because I believe I had to do certain things to make it. But like the animals, I just go where I'm safe. And that's with God. See, those animals come to me because God is to man as man is to animal, I believe. But you know, this system that so many are trapped in, like little rats on a gerbil wheel, just running and running, all exhausted. You want to know why you see so many people frustrated and so much road rage and anger? It's because people are exhausted. And that's what this system was designed to do. But you could take a lesson from the animals. See, they don't worry about senseless stuff. They go to where they're safe and they're comfortable. And that's what you should do. That's what I've been doing, and it works. See, God is real. And he offers things that this world don't offer. He offers things like peace, joy, I hope this message gets through to people, because we look to what the system has to offer too many times to give us satisfaction and peace. If I just had enough money, if I just had what they have. When you can go to God, have peace, joy, God will give your needs. He says this. He offers this. And that's what I believe he was offering in the Garden of Eden. But we said, no, we're going to listen to the serpent. God offers what this world can't offer. Are you beat down? Are you stressed? Are you constantly worried? You know, I'm gonna end with a little story. When I used to go to the gym and box, there was a woman who had like 8 kids. And she, because she loved her kids, she wanted them to learn jiu-jitsu and boxing. And every time she would come to the gym, I would see her. She was exhausted because she was taking all 8 kids to different places. She would go to work, get off work, take her kids everywhere because she loved them. But because she loved them and she was in this system, she thought, if I could just get them here and get them there, when you know what was best for those kids? As if they would have got out of school and went home with their family. She wouldn't have been as stressed as she was, because every time I seen her, she was getting more and more beat down. But she didn't know. She listened to, she believed the system. If I could teach them this, then they could protect themselves. But it's the strong family unit that teaches that. Because the family unit is where God is. A strong family unit, that's where God is. And if we'll trust God, we can be protected. You don't have to learn how to fight physically. God offers a protection and a peace that surpasses all understanding. His ways are not our ways. We live based on the physical, what our eyes can see. When God operates in the supernatural, and he wants us to operate with him. He wants us to live in the supernatural. Remember when he fed the 5,000 with just a few loaves of bread and a few fish? If you're trapped, stressed in this system, this slave debt system, well, there's a way out. And his name is Jesus Christ. He's the way out. You go to him. That's your way to God. And then you can live in the supernatural. God will take care of you supernaturally. And while everybody around you is scrambling like gerbils on a wheel, well, you'll have peace. And you know, the best evangelist very rarely has to speak. And you know, the best evangelists really shine in times of disaster and pain and misery, because the outside world looks at those who belong to God and say, or at least they should, why do you have peace in this situation? Well, I'm glad you asked. His name is Jesus Christ, and he is the way to the Father, back to the Garden of Eden, where it can just be you and God. So if you want out of the rat race, you want out of that system that will not allow you to get ahead, well, go to Christ and have peace. And in doing so, let others see your peace, because that's how you evangelize. Hope this message helps somebody.